Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of FSide DFS Fantasy NASCAR Picks. I'm host Mike 31. I almost quit after last week's race with Harrison Burton winning. I just did not see that happening, but it is Daytona and some goofy things do happen in those races. So yeah, it was a fun race to watch. But we have a more predictable one here. The Xfinity race went pretty well with what we expected with that. And one of my favorite races, the Southern 500, when I was little boy growing up in Syracuse. Family used to go camping at a campground called Sunset right off of outside of town, and we'd go Memorial Day and we'd watch the Indy 500 and the NASCAR race after that, and Fourth of July, and then Memorial or Labor Day. Always really liked watching Southern 500, and even love going back on YouTube and watching some of the old Southern 500s from the 60s and 70s. So it's just such an iconic racetrack here. As you can see, I got the stripe behind me, and it's tire wear. It's changing conditions with the sun going down and stuff. So it should be, and it's a cutoff race. So what a perfect scenario. So hope you're having a great Labor Day weekend. So let's get into the breakdown. Lots of colors here because it's the last race. So the guys in green are locked in to the playoffs. The ones in yellow are above the bubble, so they just need to kind of run a clean race, and hopefully they'll be able to get in. The ones in orange are just below the bubble, but still are within pointing distance if the yellow ones struggle to be able to go in and to be able to get into the playoffs. The ones in blue are probably the four guys that I think could potentially be some of the ones that could be a spoiler to potentially win at this track. And the ones in red, they need a Hail Mary to get in. The ones in white, they're just there for to run the race. They're not regular guys and they don't count. On the number side here, the gray ones are usually pretty good at tire wear tracks. And I looked at the history of them at different tracks over their careers, like Darlington, like Dover, like Homestead, Miami, like they don't race there anymore, but California used to be a high tire wear track too. The ones in blue might be shocking to you a little bit, but and we'll get to it when we get to them. But they statistically sometimes struggle a little bit with tire wear tracks. So Bubba Wallace got the pole, and Bubba Wallace was really upset with himself after Daytona. And there was a message from his boss, Michael Jordan, to him, which said, the things that you want most in life cost the most. Meaning, you got to put a lot of time and effort in to get there. So I think it was words of encouragement, not of words of discouragement or words of like, if you don't, get into the playoffs here, Bubba, you're going to be out as our driver. And Bubba, I think, has really channeled that. He looked really good in qualifying and decent in practice. I think it's a good track for him. I think that the pole, one on the pole here, as we can see with Bell, did pretty well in Xfinity to get out there and lead. Reddick had it last year and did quite well. He finished the race well because he got into a little bit of trouble. Not last year, that was the spring race. But Bubba, I think, has a good shot to go out here and have a successful day. I can see playing him in cash as a dominator, but I'm not going to list him as a prime play. But I think he's going to be highly owned, and he's pretty good at the total. I didn't think he fell in the top 10 when I looked at all the numbers, but he was up there as someone that was kind of proficient. Kosovar needs to win to get in. Amazing rookie season. I think bright things coming to the future. I don't think it was too much of a jump for him to go right from Cup truck to Cup, but I don't think that he's gonna be able to stay up here, so he's gonna be a fade for me. Uh Briscoe, I think he's got a shot to win this. It's a track that I think suits him pretty well, even though he struggled a little bit with tire wear. A little bit too aggressive sometimes at time and not like really good. So I think he'll have good like short run speed, but I just worry a little bit about long run speed and him falling back. But I think that he potentially could go out there and win this race. But I think that's like probably the longest shot out of no, I'd say Jones is probably the longest shot Berry and Bush. I think it would go like Bush, Berry, Briscoe, Jones if I was ranking those four. Larson always does well here. I think that he could potentially get up there and get past Wallace at some point. Really good at tire wear tracks. Just looked at him as a dominator. So I think that he's one that you definitely want to consider. Truex has always been good at tire wear tracks. He's always been good at just day to night races. The only problem is he just doesn't put together good finishes here with the next gen car. So I think he's going to be more of a GPP upside dominator. I will have him in my dominator group. I will sprinkle him into some GPP lineups, but I'm not playing him in cash. Reddick I debated at because sometimes his aggressiveness hurts him at tire wear tracks because I don't feel that he has like a lot of good long run speed because of sometimes being aggressive. He likes to ride high against the wall, which definitely gives you some stripes here. You're kind of playing it is a really good groove if you can run up there, but if you get too close to that wall, it could cause trouble. But I do think he could be a dominator. We did see him, even though he didn't finish well, he did get enough points and fast laps and laps led to have a successful day, even though he finished in the 20s after he got into a little bit of an incident in the spring. So I think you can definitely consider him as a dominator. I think he's going to be very chalky here after people look at back at the spring race. I think I prefer Larson over him here because Larson and Reddick are competing for the regular season title. And I think that Larson will get it, but I think either one of them, there's a $200 difference. I think you need to have one of them, or potentially if you can be able to do it, it's going to be hard because I have Hamlin as a prime because I like his place differential. I like his tire wear. I'll get to him in a second. But if you're not playing Hamlin, then I think you need to have both of these in your lineup. If not, then choose one. I'm leaning Larson, but Reddick is just equally as good. Blaney, he is good at tire wear tracks. He, like Truex, just can't put together good finishes in these races or really see him getting up there and like dominating or having fast laps. So I think he's good, not great. I would still consider him in the dominator pool, but probably not playing him in, definitely not playing him in cash. Byron is another one that's kind of a wild card here. And I thought about putting him as 10K guy, but I just think the ownership's going to be too high on him. He just speed wise at Darlington has been really good at all the races that they've run in the next gen car. So it's starting a little bit far back, and with Reddick in the and Wallace up there on the pole, and Larson and Hamlin in the mix, and like a Truex also. It's just hard to. He's going to have to in this narrative go out there and lead at some point. So I wanted to put him as upside dominator, but I just didn't know how to tag him. I'm super interested in him. I just got to find the right lineup. Maybe I will throw him in the 100K lineup if I can, as like my fourth guy in, or as my dominator in that one. But usually with the 100K one, I'm trying to play chalk plays in there with these 100K guys that are probably going to be lower owned to make it work. And it's been ever since you have all asked for this has been pretty successful. I've had like offered like one car in most of them, but most of them I've cashed. I just haven't smashed. But if you look back, I think at the last before Daytona, the last three races, like at least two of three, if not all three of my 100K drivers have been in the optimal lineup. So um, obviously there's something going on here, which is good. But again, so Byron, really love. I just don't know where to play him. I don't know if I can give him a cash. I don't know if I want so many people that far forward. I think I want to go place differential a little bit more to balance out my lineup, but I'll see what happens with Bill. But I definitely will have shares of. All right. Bell won the Xfinity race. I think he's a trap here because he just doesn't seem to have the speed in the Cup car at Darlington. So I think he's gonna be highly owned. Again, I think he's a trap. I will have some shares in case he does do good in GPP, but I'm not playing him in cash. Busher has always looked really good here. He didn't qualify up in my data in like the top 10 for tire wear, but he's been okay. I think he's a solid cash play. I think that he definitely can finish in the top 10. And We did see actually Busher go out there. I just don't know like why my dad didn't like shop as much for him. But do keep in mind that he was out there a couple years like leading and dominating at Homestead, Miami, and there have been some other tire wear tracks where he's been solid. So again, sometimes if you just have some bad numbers you can throw off the data set. So I think by proxy, I think that he's okay. You know what? I will give it to him. So we'll have a 10+1 here. That there's no shame in that. Okay, there you go, Chris Busher. There's your tire wear award. So yeah, I think you can play him in cash at 8,500. Might be in no man's land if you're trying to get Larson and Reddick or like Hamlin or a bunch of them in there. You might not have enough money to get into the 8K range. But if you can and you're building a balanced lineup, then I really like him. I am a little bit concerned him being above the bubble, being conservative, but I think that the conservative enough, the aggression might not hurt him here at this track. It might be exactly what we need to have the floor for a solid cash play. Cindric, I think, is going to be a fade. I think he's going backwards. He's not good at tire wear tracks throughout his history, and not going to be playing him. Brad Keselowski's always been good at tire wear tracks. I think people are going to overlook his price at 9,800. That's why he's going to be in the medium range. And I think that he is going to be one of my 100K drivers. I think that, and I think it was at Darlington in the spring that he was up there and did well. Maybe I think of another track, but I just always have liked Keselowski. Keselowski and Busher as a pairing might be decent too, because if I'm dropping down to 98 and not trying to pay like 10.7 or 11K for Hamlin or 10.5 for Reddick, then I might be able to get into that 8K range. And I kind of really like that. Ty Gibbs, I think, is going to play it the most safe here. He's been okay on tire wear tracks and should have a decent car, but nothing elite. I think he's just kind of being like right in the middle there, just like survive in advance is what their mantra is going to be. So I really don't think I want to play him as a cash or a GPP maybe, but I don't think I'll have a ton of exposure. Hamlin, I really like here. I've just seen how well he's done at tire wear tracks. I love the place differential that's baked in there. 11K is going to have to go up there and dominate at some point. I think he can. I think they want to continue to, improve their playoff position there. So I think Hamlin is definitely, especially if the guys up front get aggressive again and take each other out, then that might open the door for him to have a good. Like I said, it's a little risky, 11K if he doesn't dominate, but I think with the place differential, I think he will have some fast laps and lead at some point. So I think he's gonna be chalky and a prime play for me. Josh Berry, I really like him here. I think that they're going to have a decent strategy. They seem to have the speed and stuff. I just worry about the long run speed. He's okay on tire wear. I didn't. His numbers weren't up in the elite section, but I'm going to put him in my 100K lineup because I think that he's going to really try to shoot the moon here to get into the playoffs. Austin Dillon, I again heartbroken after all the appeals, has won a race and not going to be in the playoffs, which his Childress came out and said this is changing how NASCAR is going to race on the last lap forever now because nobody's going to try to go for the win. Like, and it's just going to be boring. But we'll see what happens. Maybe things just fall back to normal again. But Dylan, I think he's got a lot of incentive. I think he'll be okay. But it's GPP for me. Kyle Busch, I think he really wants to go out here and try to win this race. Also, he's been good on tire wear tracks. He's got a long history at being good at Darlington. So some of the failures he's had was in the Gibbs car. Childress hasn't been anything impressive, but I just have a good feeling about him. I think he's going to be low owned. I think people are going to write him off. The price has really come down to 7-8, and I think that this is going to be his moment to make the move to try to get into the playoffs. Um, Jenner Nemechek, starting too far forward. And Xfinity and truck, he was okay or tire wear tracks, but I really haven't seen a lot in this car, so I think he's just going to go backwards. Joy starting a little bit too far forward too. Should probably be a fade, but I'm going to give him a GPP here. Chase Elliott's interested in 9K again, price in no man's land. I think he can get place differential. Does he need to like lead and get some fast laps to pay off the 9K potentially? But I think people are going to look at him and he's going to be highly owned just because of Chase Elliott. He's good at tire wear tracks, and he is starting 20th and has like 10 or 15 place differential points. Haley is good at tire wear tracks. Starting a little bit too far forward for me, but if you need somebody in the 5K range, I think he's solid in a GPP. Ross Chastain, like him, is he gonna throw another like Hail Melon at this one to get in potentially? But he's right below the bubble. I think they'll do it with more strategy. The only thing that worries me is his aggressiveness is going to run his tires down, so he's going to not have the fall off he's going to need. He probably is going to have great short run speed, which might give him some fast lap points, and they might get some track position for him to be able to get into the playoffs by points, but I think there's too many variables to make him a prime play, but I think I'm comfortable playing him in my cash lineup because I think he has some floor. Logano, same thing here. He's good at tire wear. He's not a 23rd place driver. I know he crashed in the Xfinity race yesterday, but I think it's gonna be a different story here. And I think he's got some place differential baked in at 8,700. He's kind of in no man's land also, like Busher. So if you're going with a balanced build, I think he's going to work for you. I think people are going to take the $700 savings and play Chastain over Logano. So that's why his ownership's going to be medium and not high. But we'll see what happens. Harrison Burton, congratulations. You're in the playoffs. We'll see if you can make it past the first round. Be absolutely hilarious if he won the national, if like because of our series events, he actually wins the title. And I loved how he got out of the car in the interview, and the first thing said, "Wow, we're in a race, and I got fired for my job, and I still won a race." So, but good for you. We'll see what happens next year. I don't think that's going to keep you in the Cup Series, but maybe go back down to Xfinity and work your way back up again. As for this race, I think just the GPP, he has not been bad at Darlington, and maybe this is some momentum and stuff, and the pressure is kind of off here, so that could help. So I'm not saying put him in your 100K lineup, but I think he could be sneaking a GPP. I'll have some shares just in case. Hemrick and Smith, about the same price point, GPP, nothing super exciting here. Bowman, I love as a prime play here. I think he's definitely going to move up. He's been good at this racetrack. He's not a 27th place driver. You should be able to get into the top 15. So there's 10 place differential points at 75. I like the pricing that with that. Jones is another one too. If you need another one in 7K range, that should be good and should have a potential to move up and get there. Grayson and Pierce are also Stewart Fox cars that are good, but if anything, I'd probably lean more Grease here just because of the price point. But Grayson has been good on tire wear tracks. I know it didn't show up and I don't have him in gray here, but I think he's fine compared to the ones around him down here. McDowell is just kind of there. I don't think he's going to make it to the playoffs. I think he's just going to exit front row, finish out the rest of the season, not really have much support behind him. Just maybe start taking personal notes for next year as he moves on to his new team. Suarez, I think, has some upside here, but he struggled on title wear tracks. He's better at different types of tracks. It's just not a great track, I feel, for him. So GPP for me. Gillian's been a darling that we played a lot here, but I'd just rather pay for like Priest for like $1,200 less. Um, he's done better, and I think it's just Gillian. I mean, if you have to, if you want to, I mean, if he's been your horse this season, you want to continue to ride it, that's fine. But you can save $600 and play Stenhouse, who's I think is a much better play in this situation and with more floor in cash. So Van Ginsberg, the 16 car hasn't been great. Van Ginsberg's been a great student, and I think there's some upside for him to move up. That's why he's not a fade. Uh, Pez Growla, same thing. Like starting this far back, if those wrecks or attrition or stuff, he can move up at 5,200. He's the second cheapest on the board. I'm not playing Timmy Hill. But Stenhouse, I really like as a prime play. I think he's going to be definitely solid and one that is going to be very popular because this is a good racetrack for him. He didn't qualify well, but he's just look at Stenhouse for long run. Maybe he didn't run many laps up there. I don't have a 10 lap average for him, but that's That's fine. I like him. I think he's going to be okay. Uh, 36, definitely some place to Francho can probably get up into the 20s at 6,200. That's exactly the floor you need in cash play. So I got for you. I hope that helps. Again, hope you have an amazing Labor Day weekend. So, um, if you want to get more information out of DFS, we've got so much going on. Especially weekends are great places. Like a VIP pass for all our sports is only $6. Um, so next weekend we're gonna have NFL. We're covering college football. If you can play that in your state, we've got WNBA going on. We've got Major League Baseball still going on. It's been Rich McKinley and Matt Noah and I are still grinding that and becoming continuing to be profitable. Uh, PGA is even though it's going into the swing season, we'll still be covering that. There's still money to be made in that area. And Charlie has just absolutely been killing it in soccer too with EPL back. There's just like so much opportunity there and so many different soccer slates each day. So got packages for all that. Just check out our Discord. Um, you can use that for free. And if you want to check out our pricing page, it's in the description of the video. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat below. Hit me up at Megaruler31 on Twitter/X. And if these videos helps back, like, subscribe to our channel, and share with friends. So again, have an amazing Labor Day weekend. Good luck in your contests, and I will see you next week for the start of the playoffs. For I think trucks are still off to the end of the month, but we're going Xfinity and Cup will be in Atlanta. So enjoy your Labor Day. Everybody be safe out there. If you see some green screens, enjoy the race, and I'll see you.